So, silly call out number 2. In our foundation wall, the previous owner, for whatever reason, well, he had a bunch of tarp houses here. And for whatever reason, there were a couple bolts that were through the foundation. These little lag bolts, well, not little, pretty big, but they would leave a hole about that big. Oh, there you go. Not this big. So this was called out by our friendly inspectors of, I think, a surety or a sure inspection, that it may cause leakage or for moisture penetration. They also called out both of them should be removed, and that the foundation crack should be caulked and sealed to avoid water penetration. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you. This is the crack. This is the subject crack that came up in the inspection, telling me that I needed to caulk it. Now, I can understand call-outs. As an inspector, I really can. Concrete will cure, and as it cures, it forms cracks. Usually the cure rate is about 1/8 of an inch for every 10 feet by 2 inches that you pour. Vertical foundation cracks are normal. You kind of look at them like a puzzle piece. If you were physically able to push the two pieces back together without lifting, then everything's normal. If it's a horizontal crack, then you have outside pressure. But unfortunately, these inspectors didn't really have the experience, or the home was so clean, in my opinion, that they had to fabricate or justify the cost of the inspection, why they were here. So they called out a number of these silly little things like bolts through the foundation. Sure, they don't need to be there, but they don't not need to be there, if that makes sense. Another funny one was 2 call outs, one in the garage, because for risk of electrical shock, cover plates need to be installed. I want to show you which cover plate they're talking about. This is data wire. It's actually an old telephone wire. So they'd called out risk of shock. And then this one right here was called out a high voltage or live wire was coming through the ceiling. This room was originally a theater room. So in this theater room, they had speakers. I don't know why we left the speaker wire there, but that is a speaker wire that went through the ceiling. And in the course of their inspection, they determined it was necessary to call it out for high voltage. So a number of these call outs, if you don't have a buyer who's willing to negotiate, or someone who's willing to listen to reason, or willing to proceed because they're nervous, or any type of findings is a substantial findings, your deals can be killed pretty quickly. So hold your inspectors accountable. I'll definitely hold this inspector accountable for the number of call outs that were pretty much fabricated to justify the inspection. It's okay as an inspector to go, this house is great. I don't really have any significant findings, a couple things you might want to button up, but to put it on a report, to fabricate that it's high voltage, risk of shock, risk of injury is kind of detrimental to the industry, as well as people who are just trying to move to the next phase. Inspections for the most part are optional. So unless your financer wants you to do them, you're taking an optional opinion and then catering your decision whether to proceed based on what you hope is educated information. So these were not that case. Anyway, thank you for listening. Sorry, quite a rant here. Appreciate it, bye.